But how did you get involved with Ghost Adventures? Because it wasn't like, I need to find out everything. It was a little more cut and dry for production.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unusual story too, but I guess it's interesting. It worked out for me.
Here we are.
So I've worked in production my whole life, pretty much. You know, right out of high school, like many kids, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and you know, I knew I didn't want to just go a regular route. I didn't want to just do a 9 to 5. That's not me. I've always been a creative person. So I wanted to create. So I went to school for photography. Had a teacher that was just like, "You're just gonna shoot weddings. That's the only thing you could ever do as a photographer."
I mean, that's how I got my. Did you get your start with weddings?
I did a few, but not really. No.
Oh, see, I got my start as a wedding editor. That was fun.
Hey, listen, that's good money.
Right? It can be
for the person who was hiring me. Yeah, for me.
You were like contracted. Kind
of. They approached me to edit for them.
So then that kind of stopped, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll try a regular route. So I went and I got certified in computer programming. But I was like, I don't want to just sit at a desk typing code 9 to 5. And if I was doing that now, AI would be taking my job in a couple months anyway. So it wouldn't have worked out that way. But I was also like, that's not me. You know, I don't.
Right.
I need to be something more creative. So I was still trying to figure it out, and I didn't realize that there's people that work behind the scenes. I love movies. I love music. I've been a musician my whole life as well, and you know, I didn't realize that there's people that work a career that making this stuff.
The whole show.
And then I started like meeting people, and I started just basically, I was growing up around Philadelphia area, and I just started working on anything I could. So any job that, you know, needed I kind of got lucky, honestly. I didn't do a lot of like production assistant work. It was always like, you need a sound guy, but it was like no pay on weekends making some terrible movie. And I would just do it all. And I worked as a camera guy, a sound guy. I did special effects. I did all kinds of different things. And then I just kept growing from there. And it, you know, it's cliche, but it is who you know.
Yeah.
And I met people that ended up hiring me for other jobs that would hire me for another job. And then fast forward, you know, this was my first big movie was 2002. I worked on a movie doing pyrotechnics. In this movie called Bikini Bandits.
Looking it up. Sorry, now
I'm looking. We do this during the show.
And so that was like around 2002.
Maynard's in it?
Oh, yeah.
And Corey Feldman?
Yeah.
All right. He's just like, just a little movie.
Just a little movie, you know?
And so fast forward 2010-ish, I got hired by a friend of mine who was also like one of the ones that hired me back in 2002. And he hired me to do sound on this reality shows. At that time, I was starting to do a lot more reality. You know, in New York City and Philly and that whole area, it was just like a boom of reality shows. And for some reason, sound is what took off for me. What's that?
It's a call. Somebody got unmuted.
All right. So sound is what kind of jumped off for me.
Please, can you please mute yourself? I promise I ain't gonna forget about you. I promise. Just mute yourself.
Sometimes they get a little too excited and they're like,
But yeah, so then basically,
look, he's right here. He's on IMDb.
Yeah.
I just found. Sorry, I just found just pyrotechnic effects.
And then so I got hired to do sound on a show called Wreck Chasers, which basically we followed tow truck companies around Philadelphia, and it was intense. It was like gang war. You know, it was the only job that we actually had bulletproof vests in the van because we would roll up to calls and we didn't realize, but it was a stolen car, and now there's a police shootout and.
Yeah.
And what was your job on that?
I was running sound on it.
He's wearing the bulletproof vest.
Sound guy. Philly is a scary place.
No, seriously. We went and I was
We went to a bar. They were shooting in broad daylight.
And everybody
was just sitting there like everything was okay.
It's normal day.
Yeah, just look back, and then they went back on their phones, and I was like, what is going on?
So after that show, unfortunately, ended because it just couldn't last. It was a great show. But not to get too deep into it, but some of the people, there was a lot of crime involved, like murders, things like that. And it just became not sustainable. And then basically the police started coming in and stopping. Basically we would like listen to police scanners, the tow truck companies, and they would race to a wreck. And whoever got there first would get the job. So it created this natural fight. And then there were actual fights and murders and things like that happened. So we took a break, and when we went back to start filming, we would show up and the police were like, nope, we're not allowing this anymore. We're doing what's called a rotation, where they like just go down a list and they call this company. Then this company gets a turn, then this company, which most cities do. And actually Philly did have that law. They just didn't enforce it. So they decided to enforce it and kind of stop that show. Right. But the production company that was making that show was the production company that does all the logistics for Ghost Adventures. And they basically called me and they're like, hey, we have another gig for you. We have another show. If you know, and at that time, the show was always hiring local sound guys wherever they would go, or like flying in occasionally. Like, but it was always different. So they were always getting different. So there was always different levels of quality,
it wasn't consistent,
things like that. So they got to a point, they got renewed, and they were like, we want to bring in a full-time sound guy, and they flew me out to Vegas. We went out to the Goldfield Hotel, and
boy, what a first location to go to,
and filmed my first episode just as sound guy. And you know, they would do the investigation, and I would stay outside, and you know, I would help them kind of set up, and then just wait outside.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of evolved from there. And then they called me again and brought me back, and you know, and then probably about. It happened pretty quick, I think, like because it was such a small group of people. You know, we don't have even now, like we still don't have a big crew. Like it's a very small, you know, group of people that are pretty much family at this point. And you know, I remember the one day we just got back from Jamaica, and
you guys did an investigation in Jamaica.
Yeah, we investigated Johnny Cash's old house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really
cool. I've heard about that one. I haven't covered
I didn't even know
it.
He had a house.
We did that one, and
did.
we did 2 parts. We did that, and then we did Rose Hall with the Rose Hall, the witch out there.
Yes, I covered her on my channel, and that was interesting.
Oh,
so,
and
really
cool.
I gotta go back and watch.
Yeah,
because I haven't seen that episode, but I covered it and. Some of the things that they said was going on in there, I was like...
Yeah, it was a wild place.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to investigate because I was just doing sound at the time. But then afterwards, I want to say maybe we were driving to Bisbee, Arizona or something. And I was riding in the car and Zach was like, oh, Jay, you got to listen to this EVP we got in Johnny Cash's house because he knows I'm a fan and big into music. And you hear Zach say, do you like Johnny Cash's music? And you hear this, yeah, like, come through. And I'm just like, that sounds like Johnny Cash. And he's like, right? I thought so. And I was like, you know what you could do? You could actually take that voice and you could do a waveform analysis and take a sample of Johnny Cash's voice and then compare the 2 waveforms almost like fingerprints and kind of see the frequency ranges and the peaks and valleys and see if it actually matches with the EVP. And he's like, you can do that? And I'm like, I'm a nerd.
George, that's the equivalent of like Zach being like, a little league baseball coach, and Jay walks up and just hits a homer, and he's like, God damn it, I found my kid.
Right, yeah. I didn't know that was a thing, that your voice had a fingerprint, so to speak.
Yeah. So then he was like, oh, well, we'll have you do that at the end of the episode as analysis, and that was my first appearance. But actually, technically, my first appearance was earlier in that episode, because an impromptu soccer game broke out. We were doing an interview, and these Jamaican guys just started playing soccer behind us. And, of course, they were like, oh, let's play. And we filmed it. But it was just the 3 of them, and they needed a 4th, and we didn't really need to run sound. So I just put my kit down, and they're like, Jay, come play. So you see me playing soccer. And if anyone's ever seen that episode, I can run better than that. I will say as a disclaimer, about a month prior, I was skateboarding at the Winchester Mystery House and I broke my ankle.
What a weird place to break your ankle.
And, and being
not only that, why were you even participating? See, resilience, because I would have been like, y'all got it. Y'all.
If Zach Baggins invites me to play soccer, I'm going to play soccer.
Yeah,
I pretty much that one, and I don't recommend this to anyone. Like I basically healed it with a bag of frozen peas every night and just kind of kept it to myself.
Now, did you lead in goals? That game?
Oh, I think they kicked her ass.
I was about to say they're Jamaicans. They're good at what they call football.
Zach's true calling was to be like front.
But where's the credit? He broke his ankle
and still was
healed
there
it with a bag of peas.
Listen,
Are we
this
not
man
gonna
is indestructible. I mean, he hangs out with ghosts.
There's been a few times that I've done that. Actually, even, about 1.5 years ago, my ankle completely dislocated and my foot was 90 degrees sideways.
Yeah, when I met you, you had the boot on.
Yeah, and my buddy was taking me to the hospital, and in his car, I just grabbed it and I just popped it back.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, no. And then I get to the hospital, they're like, "It's not broke. Like, did this really happen?" I'm like, Yeah. And they're like, well, why? It doesn't just pop back into place. I was like, no, I put it back in place.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like, well, it's just really swollen and sprained.
The indestructible man that hangs out with ghosts for a living.
And then did you just go back to the shoot the next day?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Well, I mean, technically the doctor was like, stay off it for 6 weeks. And I think we did a Halloween special at Devil's Island outside San Francisco. Did a couple house calls episodes.
Like the next week?
Pretty much, yeah. I think I took a few days, you know.
I just
Later
got this
around.
job. I'm not getting fired.
That is true. That is true. Like I don't
Wait,
even.
all my life for a
This
job
was
like
like a
this.
year ago.
Oh yeah. This was,
Oh yeah.
no, he just got the job. He's not gonna. That's still the mentality. That's why he's been there for over a decade.
Yeah.